Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about why the Knicks versus the 76ers revolves around Joel Embiid, and now we're going to be talking about the Spurs could sign Chris Paul this summer. Or the Sours, apparently, to my notes.
The Sours.
The Sours. Alrighty, so the Spurs could sign Chris Paul this summer. According to the NBA insider Marc Stein, the San Antonio Spurs could sign Chris Paul this summer. Paul has a non-guaranteed contract with the Golden State Warriors for the next season. A potential team to watch should Chris Paul and the Warriors part ways is San Antonio, Stein wrote. Among the early personnel rumbles in circulation, the Spurs could emerge as a Paul suitor if they decide to pursue some veteran know-how on a short-term contract basis to furnish presumptive Rookie of the Year winner Victor Wembanyama with a more seasoned help in year two. Paul appeared in 58 games for the Warriors this season. The NBA legend averaged 9.2 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 6.8 assists while shooting 44.1% from the field, 37.1% from beyond the arc, and 82.7% from the free throw line. Paul turns 39 in May. However, he told NBA reporters after the Warriors season ended that he doesn't plan to retire. He said, "I'll talk to my wife and kids, my family, my support system, see what it looks like. But this isn't the end of my career. I know it for sure." All $30 million of Paul's contract for next season is non-guaranteed. Part of the Warriors' reasoning behind the Jordan Poole for Paul trade last offseason was the financial flexibility it would provide this summer. The Warriors could use it as a trade vehicle or wipe all $30 million off the books before it guarantees on June 28th. I haven't thought about it, Paul said. I'm too into it. I was in the gym at 8 a.m. this morning lifting and getting ready for this game. When it's time for that, Mike and Steve, we will have a conversation and see what it looks like. But I've loved it. It's honestly, this is my 5th year living without my family. I probably saw them more than any other year. Paul has a career average of 7.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 9.4 assists. He has close relationships with Spurs head coach Greg Popovich.
Okay. Now, at first glance, when I think about Chris Paul with Golden State, it is absolutely forgettable. It's an experiment that never worked. If they brought him in as a piece to trying to contend for a championship, it did not work at all. I think he's the second or third highest paid player on the team and barely contributed. Man, Chris Paul's a legend, and I look around and I'm saying, okay, it does give the Warriors an opportunity. I think that contract is valuable. And so do I think that San Antonio will get him? I don't know if they will, because you're going to have to give something up, because there's going to be a lot of teams that want that contract. That's an expiring contract, $30 million. You may be able to a great trade piece where people are trying to get under the salary cap. So that contract is going to be harder. I don't see them just saying we're gonna let you go, and we're gonna opt out of this contract because of what you can trade for to get back. But if they do, when I hear the fact that Chris Paul, even at 39, is going to be a free agent, I could see him fitting on a lot of teams. The Lakers are one of them, where they're still trying to make a run with LeBron. They need another superstar that can kind of step up, and Chris Paul has showed that he can be one of those guys. But I absolutely love putting him with Victor Wembanyama. I have been saying this most of the year that they should trade for Chris Paul. The one thing, Victor Wembanyama, in my opinion, he's rookie of the year, he's defensive player of the year. The one thing that he was missing this year that I thought the Spurs were missing was that true point guard. Well, is there a point guard in the NBA is there a point guard that knows the game or knows the position better than Chris Paul? No, there's no one. Putting Wembanyama with Chris Paul allows Wembanyama to advance his game even more. Where Chris Paul would be able to get Wembanyama get him the shots that he needs, where in the right places, right locations. That's what a great point guard does. And Chris Paul arguably could be the greatest or one of the greatest point guards. Magic is the greatest, but one of the greats of all time. And so having a guy that can come in with a younger team, especially the Spurs are going to be a young team. Maybe they draft a point guard, maybe they bring whoever they're going to bring in and work with. But having a young point guard to learn from a Hall of Famer like Chris Paul would be amazing. Chris Paul showing the point guard, showing their whomever they're going to draft or whoever they decide to go with, how to play the game, how to get the ball to Wembanyama in the right spots. It's a lot of times Wembanyama's getting the ball and then he has to create separation, get the ball in the right spot. He's having to play. He's a 7'3" guy putting on the ground, dribbling, driving to the hole, which makes him amazing. But think about how great Wembanyama would be if he had a point guard that could get Wembanyama a lot of easy points, where he doesn't have to work. And to get open. So now those points come into play. I think it definitely increases his offensive performance. Defensively, Wembanyama's already set. My opinion, he's the best defensive player in the game right now. If I had a vote, he's getting my defensive rookie of the year. But the offensive game is what comes on later and adjusting to that NBA style of play. Well, nothing advances a big man's numbers than having a quality point guard that's really going to help him advance his game. Someone that can kind of work with him during off season. Practice on where do you like the ball? Okay, I can get you there. Know how to get it to him up top. Wembanyama is the largest, tallest player in the NBA. He has room. I mean, Chris Paul will take advantage of that. So I do like this, but when I think about Chris Paul, even though this year was a failure, the whole thing with him going to Golden State was not. I don't feel like it was a great move for Chris Paul. And that's one of the reasons why so many people are asking, hey, are you retiring after this? Because this was his worst year of his career.
Right.
But if you're Golden State, you're not benching Steph Curry for Chris Paul. Yeah, you know what I mean? So he didn't get the minutes. I think there are some contenders out there that would love his shooting, being able to run the point. I think he fits in incredibly well with the Lakers. The Lakers, it would make them a little older, and I know the Lakers do not want to get any older. You don't want
I was going to ask that.
Do you really want two 40-year-old men as your focal point of your offense? That's the question, because I think he fits in. I think he fits in incredibly well with LeBron. LeBron has always said before he retires, he wants to play with Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony. Well, he's gotten a chance to play with Carmelo. Now, does he get a chance to play with Chris Paul? I think it does. I think he does fit. He would fit defensively. He's older, but and could be because of the fact that he's getting older, could be a liability. But what he brings to the game for a team, putting Anthony Davis in the right spot, making sure LeBron gets the ball properly. I like him going to the Lakers more than anywhere else, provided he's willing to. If he gets released by Golden State.
I was about to ask, do you see Golden State releasing him this year?
No, I don't. It's an easy exit route for them. They could just release him. It's not guaranteed. I think he has like $30 million or so. Yes. I think it said, okay, so he has $30 million that's not guaranteed. So the Warriors could walk away and take $30 million off the cap. They paid $177 million in taxes last year, which is more than any team has ever paid in luxury tax in the history of the NBA. They had the highest payroll in the NBA. But that expiring contract can open up there's a lot of teams that want expiring contracts where that they can bring in, maybe the Warriors can kind of retool and get a few pieces that they need by trading that Chris Paul contract. I don't know. There's not a lot of people out there that may trade for Chris Paul, but they will trade for that contract. That's kind of the way I see it. You're only allowed so much money. When you're doing a trade, it has to be a like for like contract. So that's a nice contract to have that you can maybe get a piece. And for a team that's looking to rebuild, getting rid of an expensive player that has more years on his contract for Chris Paul, let's say, I'm not going to name any players right now off the top of my head, but let's say you have a player that you got 3 or 4 more years on the contract, but you want to rebuild. Well, you can take that contract, package it up, trade him to the Warriors, pick up his contract, and you've lost, instead of being $30 million a year for the next 3 years or 4 years, which is $120 million, you can trade them for like, and you lose $120 million off your cap for the next 3 or 4 years, and opens up for a nice rebuild. Kind of, if you look at Oklahoma City Thunder, New Orleans, Minnesota, that's how they were able to make some trades, get some younger players, and rebuild. There's other teams out there that are still looking to rebuild, that are looking to dump some salary in. So going after that contract, I think, is what is so valuable, and why I don't see the Golden State Warriors just releasing him. But if they release him outright, I could see the Spurs or the Lakers being the top 2 suitors. And I think if you're Chris Paul at 39, you're going to go for, I don't think the San Antonio Spurs are going to be a place that he wants to go, because at 39, he has 1 or 2 more bites at the apple max. He's going to want to go to a contender. He's going to want to go somewhere where he has a shot at winning a championship, not rebuilding and on a project like San Antonio. So I don't see this truly as a real scenario unless he gets released and the market completely dries up. He's going to be wanting to go for a contender. So that's kind of where I see it at.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens this summer then.
Do you know what this is?
Tay's excited for the next segment. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into our dating horror story of the week. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.